Hey everybody, welcome to the Soil Viola Show. This is my next guest, Jolie Russo. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Certainly. First of all, thank you for inviting me onto your show, Sawyer. It's an honor. I am a lawyer. I've been a lawyer for, 3 decades now, working for the US federal courts. I have two sons, an older son who is 30 years old, and a younger son who is 28 years old and who is on the spectrum.
Yeah, nice, nice. So, question one, when did you learn about when did you learn about the disabilities community?
I became aware of the disabilities community many decades ago, actually, when I was in college. I was both a sociology and a psychology major, and so was exposed to the disability community through academics, frankly. I then volunteered with the Portland Women's Crisis Line. That further exposed me to individuals with varying challenges. I then worked on the inpatient psychiatric ward at the VA hospital, which again gave me even greater exposure to individuals facing a number of challenges. Since then, I've had many opportunities to both understand and interact with disabled individuals, both working directly with them as well as advocating for them.
Nice, nice. So obviously, I guess to tell the audience, you have obviously a lot of background, obviously with multiple, not just autism, obviously multiple diagnosis of disabilities, if I'm hearing you correctly.
That is absolutely correct. Yes. My experience with the disability community goes far beyond autism.
Nice, nice. So question two, as a poet, what would you like people to become aware of when it comes to disabilities?
I would like people to be aware of all of an individual's capabilities. I would encourage people not to make assumptions. When you initially see or meet somebody, please do not assume you know or understand what that person is capable of achieving. Um, I would encourage people to be kind, to give people a chance to show you who they are, again, before you make an assumption about who they are. And finally, I guess I would say, look for ways you can help, even in a very small way.
Nice, nice. So obviously, like you said, yeah, don't judge a book by its cover, obviously. Because they could do a lot of good in this world too. I guess, question three, been, how has it been being a poet changed your outlook on your life? Ha- Yeah.
It hasn't changed my outlook very much. My outlook, frankly, has been sort of hardwired since college. My outlook has always been very optimistic and forward looking, with lots of energy and activism, no matter what the circumstances. So I would say my outlook hasn't really changed. Uh, what has changed is the firsthand experience that I had raising a child on the spectrum. That helped to further educate me as to what is actually required to raise a disabled child, required both financially. It can be incredibly expensive as well as emotionally. It can be very stressful for parents or caregivers. It can be stressful for siblings of the child. I didn't have a real appreciation for the impact on the family before I had that experience. I now certainly have more understanding of families that are facing these hardships and, frankly, how limited the options are.
Nice, nice. So, I guess, what when you talk about the options, I guess, what would you like to see, I guess, get better or change in the industry?
I would like to see more options post high school, assuming a person is able to either graduate with a regular high school diploma or a GED or another type of certification. It then seems that all of the resources dry up. So once a child becomes 18, the parents are really at a loss as to what is the next step. So I would like to see some thought and some money behind young adults. I think we're fairly lucky in that children are fairly well cared for in terms of the money to assist them with their care and their education. But once a child turns 18 and sort of ages out of that system, I've found that parents are absolutely at a loss as to the next step.
Yeah, because obviously, those transition program and then high school and then sometimes transition program and then obviously we're trying to get the college funded to help out more, but what's your take on making it easier for people with neurodiversity to go to university?
How can it be, let me rephrase, make sure I understand your question. How can it be made easier for a young person to attend university?
Some person used to, I guess, for people that like people like myself who do want to who if they want to go to college and so they don't, I guess they want to go to college and they don't, if they want to go to college, I guess. Mm,
So people like yourself
mm-hmm,
who might want to go to college, how can that be made easier?
mm-hmm, yes,
Again, I think it's a matter of money. I mean, that seems to be what everything
mm-hmm,
boils down to. Money to invest in programs like Think College, where you provide pathways and options other than traditional university admission. You have other options, pathways for young adults to have a college experience. And frankly, so they do as much as they can possibly do, attend as many classes, courses as they are comfortable attending, participate in the non-academic activities, which I think are so important to a young person's maturation. Um, so it's the proliferation of programs like Think College that would help, I believe, parents and young people with additional options.
yeah, nice, nice, yeah, I think so too. What is there any programs out there for obviously for young adults, for young, sorry, for young parents trying to, when they first sort of wheel, for young parents who have like kids on the spectrum, is there any like stuff that can help them?
That's a great question. I can tell you with certainty that when our guy was young and diagnosed at the age of 3, there was nothing out there. There were no programs, there were no support groups, there was very, very little information about the diagnosis. I think that has changed some. I'm obviously not, since my guy's grown, I'm not really in touch with what is available to young parents for kids on the spectrum, but I know that there are now everything from Facebook support groups to actual in-person support groups, both for the individual, the child, and the young adult, and the parents, parents with a newly diagnosed child. There are now actually support groups, and there has been just more information available. I mean, thanks in part to programs like yours, Sawyer, helping to educate people about autism and kids, young adults that are on the spectrum. But again, I can't speak with any firsthand knowledge about what is actually available to new parents with a newly diagnosed child.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Do you think I guess what do you think the obviously what do you think the importance for providers that they play in obviously the the kids like obviously do you think that do you think there's a very importance to help providers obviously get paid moving forward?
Absolutely. Again, I'm going to um, provide a disclaimer to my answer because I personally have never worked with a provider. I've never had a provider for my son, but uh, in terms of what I know about providers, I think they are critically important to assisting young adults maintain their independence, their self-worth, their self-esteem. I think they are very, very important. And of course, I think like all caregivers, providers, they should absolutely be paid a living wage. It's such important work. And we as a society need to recognize it and value it. And the way we do that is by compensating people fairly. So absolutely, I think they should be paid fairly.
Nice, nice. Yeah, me too. Obviously, me too. See, what do you think is I guess what do you think is the pillage obviously what do you think people could do better with I guess with advocacy work around helping getting stuff passed for people with disabilities?
Getting stuff passed, you mean laws?
Yeah.
So how can we move?
How can we move the how can we make people out there when they like to kind of your first question when they sort of see somebody with like autism or with disability, how can we make people how can we sort of like say, okay, it's autism and it's not just this way, it's multiple different ways, like to answer to your first question, I guess. How do we make people see autism as sort of like people like for example people how do we get how do we get uh damn it, how do we I guess scratch that question how do we get um employers to see to see that like somebody might need some accommodations and that's okay and they should be comfortable asking for that. How do we make that more of a reality?
Boy, if I could answer that question, Sawyer, I could just save the world. With most employers, I mean, the bottom line is money. So maybe we need to, instead of trying to appeal to their altruistic selves, maybe we go in with a bottom line financial proposal that helps them to see that by being more inclusive and allowing employees to request accommodations, that will perhaps increase productivity, reduce absenteeism, and which will ultimately increase their bottom line, make their whole business more profitable. Um, I really, and I know that's cynical, but I really think what is going to move the needle is um, helping employers to understand that uh, inclusivity will increase profitability. We need to make that connection for them somehow.
Yes, and obviously, yeah, and I know how that sounds too, and I get it personally, but I agree with you that that's how we're gonna move the ball forward for when it comes to getting laws passed and stuff. And then what can I say? I guess you know, we have questions here. I guess one of I guess is um do you have any questions for me?
Uh, no questions for you, but again, I just want to compliment you on your show and on how hard you're working to advocate not only for yourself, but for everybody else out here who is struggling and perhaps aren't as adept at doing the sort of advocacy work that you are able to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, absolutely kudos to you, Sawyer. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much for agreeing to be interviewed today. Um, it's been a pleasure, so
My pleasure. Thank you, Sawyer. Bye bye.
thank you, bye bye.